Dr. Lou Sella, sport and performance psychologist, and before I can change you in regards to the triple option offense, I have to change the way you think. I have to change the way you think before I can change the way you act and before you get your players to act a certain way. I can't begin to tell you how important that is in this journey. I have to change the way you think. So you're going to say, well, how do you change the way I think? First of all, I got to get you thinking like a performance psychologist. Why is that so important? Because it's how you create the elite performance environment. All right, so how do I create the elite performance environment? I'll give it to you basically in the proverbial nutshell. How do you create the elite performance environment? You take what you're doing at your practice and you eliminate 80+% of it. What do you mean by that? I'll give you an example. This is what I did during my doctoral dissertation. So we're going back 10 years. I worked with the college football program. We took a look at what they were doing at practice. They ran a 2-hour practice. So it's 120 minutes. I said to the coordinators and the head coach, I go, what would you do if you only had 24 minutes to practice? You only have 24 minutes to practice. What do you do at practice? Unanimously, they all said, well, we would run plays. I said, very good. There's your answer. You need to go all in on that. And they said, well, what about? I said, this is what separates you. This is what separates the wheat from the chaff. This is what makes you different. This is how you become elite. You're focusing on what matters now, which is running plays. Because you have to take away all the things that are less important and go all in on the thing that is important. Because running plays means you're practicing the game. So by practicing the game, what you're doing is you're getting to the reality of your situation. Okay, now, I said, now that you're running plays, let's deconstruct what we just deconstructed. How do you get better at running plays? They said, I don't know. I said, you got to have a systematic way to get more plays in this short period of time. Well, how do we do that, Dr. Sella? At that point, I wasn't Dr. Sella yet, but I just about was. I said, well, Paul Johnson's bullets drill. Because Paul Johnson would get 2 to 2.5 plays a minute by having his top 2 offenses run plays against 7 people holding shields where their alignments and their assignments were scripted. Okay, so we'll do that. And that's really how this all comes to fruition. Now, I'll say this. That was in 2014. In 2018, I was on a field at a high school in Georgia. And at that high school, the revelation hit me. Do what you told them to do, which is just run plays. Because every time I would do all these drills at camp, and then we'd go team, we'd have to start over. Because quarterbacks play different when a real center snaps in the ball. B-backs play different with a real offensive line in front of them. A-backs play different with a real offensive line in front of them. Especially with the modern day zone dive now. Receivers are different in a compressed formation. So I had to take my own advice in 2018. So when you look at the triple option offense, I don't come at any of this from a coaching perspective. I come at all of this purely from a perspective of a performance psychologist, a sport performance psychologist, because I'm trying to get you to create the elite performance environment. So when I can change the way you think by getting you to eliminate 80+% of what you're doing and go all in on what really matters, if I can get you to do that, then I can get you to install, play, call, practice, and persist. Because once I change the way you think, then I can change your mindset about installing and play calling simultaneously. Then I can get you to persist through perfect practice. So that 3-step procedure is how I create the elite performance environment, how how I create success stories, how I create testimonials with people running the triple option offense, and how people end up on the testimonial page. I change their mindset and get them to focus on the vital few, or the one thing that matters. Then it's to install as they play call. Then it's to have persistent practice, or persistent perfect practice. That's that. Coaches, you want to become a client and win big in 2024, pick up the phone and call me right now. My number's on the thumbnail of this video, so is my website. I'm going to go get some Raising Cane's right here, and I'll talk to you later.